Good morning, everybody, and welcome back for a Gallic raid on Rome. As you can see, this was from the 24th of July of 390 BC, which is when the Gauls under BRENUS, in fact, attacked Rome and actually sacked it sometime in 390 BC. I don't know if it was actually the 24th of July, but that was when this battle happened. So anyway, there's a little extra joke in the title for you guys. See if you can figure it out. Besides just the me driving French tanks on the Italy map, hence the Gauls sacking Rome here. So back to the actual battle. I'm speeding up to the A point as quickly as I can get there to get a cap and hopefully hold it against enemy counterattack. This was, of course, when I was still grinding out my AMX 40, as you'll see at the end result. I was getting close to it, but I wasn't that close. And I'm not sure what he didn't like about my grammar. My grammar was totally fine and correct there. Also, as somebody else points out in the chat, it's a Battlestar Galactica quote, so... there we go, right on time. Smoked out here to start capping, and so did somebody from the other side, so I switched away from my smoke and back to my APF SDS. Because after all, I can just use his smoke now. Let's hope somebody from the team gets here to help me shortly. But whoever the enemy was, they actually bailed out of A for some reason. Probably because they're now moving back and setting up an ambush for after I cap. The only thing I can hear or see, though, is my teammate right behind me, and then he shoots at something. But I don't know what he was actually shooting at. So the enemy team is capping B. I'm looking around for whatever might be here. I don't know where the guy went who was originally at A. I don't know if he dumped his smoke and ran away as fast as he could, or if he was just right here around this corner. Which is where he was. Except, unfortunately, he was around the wrong corner. So I've got teammates behind me, but I guess they aren't quite aware of all the shooting going on just outside the A point, so... pair of leopards there, that was a bit of an issue. Did get the cap, though, so it wasn't all bad, and I had enough score to come back in my AMX 13 hot, which I was also trying to spade out for research purposes.
Enemy forces have captured a zone. Attention to the map.
So we're doing pretty well down south at C. We've got 5 guys down there that have got the cap more or less surrounded in a bit of a triangle. And I thought, well, alright, I'm going to push a little more towards the B point. If they want to have A, they can have A. If we can take C and B, we'll still win this. Although I was a little bit pessimistic at my team's chances since they're pushing in on the southern spawn, while the enemy team is holding the 2 northern caps. So I was a little bit disappointed in the focus of the team at the time. I have since forgiven them, as you'll see. By the end, everything turns out okay. Not to spoil anything, but... I do like the AMX 13 line, but they have got such a short little wheelbase that any bump that you hit sends the thing bouncing all over the place. And it's a bit lacking in the engine power department. I understand it's a light tank and it's not meant to be... not needing a whole lot of engine, but it'd be nice if it had enough engine power to, you know, be a light, fast tank. Once you get it going, it's not too bad. It's just the initial acceleration that's a little bit of a pain. So we've got a friendly airplane up, and there's a lot of AAA shooting at it, so I know that at least some of the enemy is in SPAA. I don't think I'll be able to see them from where I am. I'm not quite high enough up to see over all these houses. Maybe some of them in a couple spots, but I'm more focused on the caps. And thankfully, so are some of our team. Got a scout on this guy, and then could not get the flailing flubber barrel to settle quickly enough to get a shot on him. But thankfully, the scout that I got on him got him killed, and that was just enough points for me to come back in my AMX 30 DCA. And this time I changed up my spawn point to the south to go and help out the team. And as I've said before somewhere, it cracks me up that as soon as you spawn in the south, you're getting a return to battlefield notice. Good work! We have unfortunately lost our Sky Raider. But those guys are all in a squad that's working pretty well together down there in the south at sea, so... We have now taken the B point, which is good because the tickets were just about equalized with that capture. And I'm watching out to figure out who's got how many tanks left. And then I spot this enemy aircraft coming over. It turns out it's an AR-234. So I come to a stop, light him up as much as I can, don't get any hits on him, and he crashes. So didn't really matter because he was just suicide bombing a T-64 anyway. Although it was a T-64 that was right outside their spawn. I took a hit here that I couldn't tell where it came from and thought I was getting shot by somebody on a hill somewhere, which made no sense whatsoever. And then realized that, okay, it's got to be this guy. It's a 262. He's probably a 262 Narwhal. For whatever reason, this guy really liked me. Thankfully, my teammate in the ZSU-23-4 took him out before he could put more 50 mils into me, so really appreciated that. That definitely made a big difference for me in this battle. And it wasn't actually until I checked who had damaged me there after he was shot down that I realized he was actually what hit me. I still thought I got shot in the spawn by an enemy tank from somewhere that I didn't know, because I don't know this map well enough to know where all the silly spawn shooting hiding spots are that people already know where to go. So all repaired, down a couple crew members and down a couple of smokes, but otherwise good to go and ready to drive, ready to battle. And in the meantime, we took the A point and the enemy decapped but didn't recap the B point, so I'm heading for B. There's a 2A4 knocked out by an MBT-70. Good work there, MBT-70. Always good to see a 2A4 go down on the other team. Not so great when they're on your team, which is 50-50 anymore, whether or not you're going to have the Germans on your team or have them as your enemies at high tiers. And that's not even counting the mixed battles that happen now. A little bit of Marseille drift there as I came around the corner. Thought I was flipping for sure there, but those stone part of the fence actually kept me from going totally on my side. Got into B with the engine smoke running, did a big U-loop to fully enclose myself in engine smoke. And finished up the cap, just as the enemy starts taking the A cap. So I know where I must go now. Artillery very conveniently finished right at that moment. And I thought, best grab a third crew member while we're sitting here before we go charging off after the enemy taking the A point. And while I wasn't able to shoot down the first ME-262 I saw, I was able to get that second one. So the difference between the radar SPA and when it's so dangerous is when you're not maneuvering. It's really easy to evade SPAA if you throw some maneuvers in. And it's actually pretty easy to avoid detection if you come in low on the horizon. That's not possible on every map. Sands of Sinai, it's kind of hard to terrain mask yourself on the initial approach because it's all just sand dunes. But there's a lot of places on a lot of these maps where if you get low enough, it's really hard for a radar SPA to pick you up. You just have to be smart. And I do also think it's funny sometimes when I see people who fly prop attackers complaining about radar SPAA. Like, what did you think was going to happen? You need to be low and you need to be fast. Or you at least need to be low if you're going to fly a prop. Or use long standoff weapons like rockets and punch them off from distance. Those are your best chances of surviving. Radar SPA can be mitigated, but you've got to be smart about it. So I'm trying so hard to get up to the A point here in my DCA in time to get another capture. And I'm thinking to myself, it's not quite going to happen. It's going to be close, but it's not quite going to work. And so we've got teammates shooting at something right behind us here. There's smoke, and there's something. Leopard A1A1 just took out my teammate in the XM1 that just capped A. So I'm just going to continue right on around and keep curling around the A point to see if I can figure out what exactly it is that just took out the XM1. And now I do have an opportunity to capture A, so while I wish I had saved the XM1 there, this does actually kind of work out for me. So the Leopard A1A1 got killed by an IL-28, so he is no longer capturing the A point. But something is, and I just got a hit on it with my artillery, and it's this Type 90 right here. Now, thankfully, he didn't drive directly into me and crash into me, and that was all the difference between the two of us there. If he'd have gone head-on into me and knocked me backwards, that would have been it, but thankfully he let me sideswipe him and riddle him with armor-piercing, discarding Sabo 30 millimeters. And those little tiny bombs were thankfully not quite enough to damage me either. So there's my third capture, and the enemy team is now capturing C, but that's a bit distant. Took a hit from some tank there. Couldn't quite tell where that was from. Pretty sure it was my teammate in the Abrams shooting at me from behind, because it didn't actually do any damage. But since I couldn't be 100% certain, I had to search around here and see if I could figure out who had shot at me, instead of heading down to C, where we know enemies are. So I'm pretty confident now that what shot at me was my teammate, so I can move out from A again. But by the time I make it to the end of the map at the south to try to recap C, the battle would be over, so I decided instead I'm just going to sit up here and play defense at the A point. See if I can track down any of this enemy SPA up here. But the tickets are bleeding out so quickly that it's really going to be a moot point. It was close, but not quite. And we pulled off the victory. It's always nice to get the victory for that 120% research boost. The Silver Lion boost is nice too, but of course when you have a 150% research booster on as well, it really helps, and that's how you get 10,300 RP for an air kill, a ground kill, an assist, some scouting, and 3 captures in a victory. And that is how you grind quickly. Make good use of your boosters, make good use of teamwork, win the battles, and get those captures. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. A little bit more French coming up this week, as you'll see. Let me know what you guys thought in the comments. We'll see you next time, and as usual, I hope everybody has a great day. Take care, everyone.